Well, as has become expected, Donald Trump doesn't mind putting the appearance of actual governing on hold. While Floridians were being ravaged by a massive Category 4 hurricane and its devastating aftermath, the Tangerine Titan was opting to continue to tour the country, stirring up the remaining remnants of his cultish following in anticipation of the upcoming election. This is no surprise to anybody, of course. Trump doesn't do much of anything aside from signing papers put in front of his face, viciously and indiscriminately attacking people on Twitter, and lavishing praise on dictators, despots, and tyrants. He sure can whip a crowd into a frenzy, though, but he isn't good for much else. But let's not forget that this behavior isn't normal. It really isn't. It's intended to separate America into competing camps, like a third-rate reality show that Donald Trump is so used to running. It's intended to pit Americans against Americans. It's no longer about what's good for America, it's about the fight. And while Americans fight amongst ourselves, he maintains power. It's unpresidential, divisive, and destructive to our democracy. And the content of his message remains wildly hypocritical. With questions looming over him regarding his mental state and fitness for the presidency, raised in the anonymous op-ed published by the New York Times and the Bob Woodward book, Trump has taken the advice of a quote that has been unverifiably attributed to the Nazi propagandist Joseph Goebbels, quote, "Accuse the other side of that which you are guilty," unquote. Now, even if this isn't an actual Goebbels quote, it applies to Donald Trump. Projection, folks. Trump accuses others of the things of which he himself is guilty. The most recent example of this is in his most recent rallies in Erie, Pennsylvania, Council Bluffs, Iowa, and Topeka, Kansas. His newest line is to describe Democrats as crazy, psycho, wacky, mentally deranged. He accuses Democrats of radicalism, of bringing an angry left-wing mob to the conversation. Democrats have become too extreme, he says. In other words, all of the things that credible people say about him, he pretends to apply to his enemies. By mirroring the exact charge that his critics are leveling at him, he turns it into a brawl, a shouting match between both sides, a he said, she said, and his followers are all too ready to lap it up. Trump also encouraged the chants of "lock her up," newly applied to Senator Dianne Feinstein over her role on the Senate Judiciary Committee overseeing the Kavanaugh confirmation proceedings.
How about Senator Feinstein? That's another beauty. That's a beauty. Did you leak the documents? What? No, I didn't. Did we leak? Did we leak? No. And I think they're talking about Feinstein. Can you believe it?
Trump eggs on and accepts the chance of lock her up. Never mind that Trump, as recently as Saturday, was decrying the lack of due process and presumption of innocence for Kavanaugh, who was entitled to neither under the Constitution because he wasn't in criminal proceedings.
This has everything to do with our country. When you are guilty until proven innocent, it's just not supposed to be that way. Always I heard, you're innocent until proven guilty. I've heard this for so long, and it's such a beautiful phrase. In this case, you're guilty until proven innocent. I think that is a very, very dangerous standard for our country.
With Trump, we have turned a dangerous corner in American life. There is no honesty. There is no integrity. There is no intellectual consistency. And there is no hypocritical depth to which Trump and his sinister enablers won't seek in their pursuit of power. And watch for it. Anytime we learn something new about Donald Trump, he will concoct a similar accusation against whoever his main opponent du jour is. As always, we need to hold him accountable in the only way that these rubes understand. Strip them of their power. Vote.